Do hashtags matter for podcast promotion on social media? And how does podcast SEO even work to help grow your show? These were just some of the questions that we received during our very first Libsyn office hours. And in this video, we're going to take a look at some of those questions that just might be the key to helping you grow your podcast. First up, what are embed players? And how do they work to help grow your show?
Thomas has a question, and honestly, Emilio, this is good for you. Newbie here, I don't understand what an embed is and obviously don't know how to use it. Please help.
Great. Yeah. So Thomas, so within Libsyn, you can use embed players. And what that is just like a small little player. I can show you an example here, actually. So I have this pulled up here. And again, if I click here, embed and get embed player, basically what an embed player is this little player right here, right? So it allows you to play the episode, shows your artwork, shows your title, the title of your podcast. And so if you get an embed player, you have some customization options in terms of the size, the player color, the font color. You can display the artwork or not, turn the title on and off, the follow link, the share button. You can allow people to directly download it from here. And so what you can do is embed this or put this into a website or in a different location that you have it. And so what you can do is this code here will populate this embed player on that site. So what you do is click this copy button, or you can just go ahead and copy this. And then from there, you can embed it into that site so that it'll show up there. So somebody doesn't have to go someplace separate or in like a specific listening app to find that episode. It's just right there. They click play and they can get started with listening to that.
The reason why embed players are so good is that there's nothing worse than having someone land on a website that you created for a podcast episode, and the person sees the title, sees all this content, maybe they see the subscribe button, but they don't know how to play the episode. And, you know, there's this like rule of internet traffic that for every click people have to do to get to something, 50% of your audience is gone. So if they arrive on your page and they have to click to go to another page to then hit play or hit download, you've lost a good number of people. But if they can arrive on that page and the first thing they see is the title and then an audio player, they will hit play and, you know, they can start consuming your content right away.
One thing that did come up during our discussion of embed players was the use of stats tracking codes. If you aren't familiar with stats codes within Libsyn, these are special codes that you can affix to both your external link and your embed player for your episodes. These are a great way to get a more granular view of where your downloads are actually coming from. Stats codes can also help when trying to decipher the number of downloads coming from browser sources like Firefox and Google Chrome.
Judy asks a question. She says, I've been embedding into my website. Any activity will not be showing up in my Libsyn stats ? Unless I use the tracking code. So no, all of your plays from your embedded player go into your stats dashboard.
Yep.
They just usually show up under like Chrome or Firefox or, you know, one of the big internet browsers. So they are there, but it's not telling you specifically, oh, this must be the embed off my site. Whereas had you put the tracking code in the embed and said, you know, my website, that would be an easier, more specific way to know, okay, these plays had to have come from the embed player on my website versus just trying to like parse through the general Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla data to be like, those must be my website plays.
Embed players and stats codes aside, podcast promotion and optimization is key to helping you grow your podcast. But when trying to grow on social media platforms, which platform is the right one for you?
Andrew has a question here. Which social media platform brings you the most listens? For example, I get 0 listeners from Facebook, but I get quite a few from Instagram. X is in the middle, and I get nothing from LinkedIn.
It's a great question, and unfortunately the answer is it depends.
It depends,
right? If I was doing a crafting, like sewing, you know, very home craft kind of stuff, I would say, you know, Etsy and Pinterest and Instagram.
Yeah.
If you're doing, you know, business and entrepreneurship and jobs, it's probably LinkedIn and, you know, maybe Twitter, or, you know, it really does depend on your network. And also it's not just who do those networks tend to target, or who in your network, is more prevalent on those platforms, you really do have to optimize these posts for each platform. It can be a lot of work. It can be annoying. AI can make that a lot easier. Honestly, if you feel like you have, some social networks that you're like, I don't really get much out of there, don't worry about it. Focus where your audience is. Like, I would much rather see someone put a ton of great effort into one or two platforms than just average, spinning your wheels effort into 5 or 6 of them. Right. So figure out what's the right network where your community is, where the people who are interacting with your show currently are, and make sure you're really tailoring your stuff to them on that platform.
Hashtags are a great way to actually organize your social posts around trending topics. But do hashtags really help with podcast growth?
Matthew, what's your take on hashtags and social media?
They can help. So here's the thing. Some people put hashtags in their like Libsyn description, or they put it like within the platform so that hashtags would appear on Apple and all those other places. They don't do anything there. So don't worry about it there. When you are posting on social media, can hashtags help you? Yes, they absolutely can. The right hashtag strategy can be very powerful, very useful, very good in discovery. The wrong one can be a waste of time, make you look very amateurish and kind of silly. Just saying hashtag Taylor and Travis engaged on your podcast about, Western economies and, the current economic climate, probably not going to move the needle all that much, right? Like that's not going to make a difference. And just jumping on a hashtag train is not always going to make the difference. But either having the appropriate hashtags that people would be searching for so that they land on your content, very useful. Or better yet, having your own hashtag that allows you to like label your stuff very specifically and then find it very easily with all of your other stuff, or that you encourage your users to use a specific hashtag for your show so that, when somebody happens to see a user talking about it and they click on the hashtag, then they see your other, like that to me is useful. But just throwing up hashtags is not a strategy and will not move the needle.
No. Podcast growth on social media is great, but we all know that making sure that your show shows up in podcast apps is key to breaking through the noise and being discovered by eager audiences. So how can you use SEO to optimize your podcast for maximum discovery?
Judy did bring up one question here about SEO titles.
And so just so everyone knows, there's SEO, which is typically like what your website is doing for you, right? Like how you are searchable in the broader Googleable universe. And then there's podcast optimization. The thing about podcast is the title of your show, the author field, and the title of your episode are your 3 main searchable fields.
Yep.
And so that is the place where you really need to think about your SEO. So what I would usually coach people in saying is, if you are having a big guest on your show and that guest is someone that people will be looking for, their name needs to be in the title of the episode so that you will pop up when people search for that person. That is crucial. If your show is about, horror movies, it's great to have a clever, fun, punny title. But if horror movie doesn't show up anywhere in your show title, your author field, saying it again, Judy, your show title, your author field, or your episode titles, you are invisible to people who would be searching up horror movies.
These were just a small sample of the amazing questions that podcasters like you brought to our very first Libsyn office hours. If you want to get your questions answered live by Matthew, Emilio, and myself, do me a favor and click the link in the description to register for next month's Libsyn office hours.